for security reasons. So a home was purchased over, not too far from here on Broad Street. You can probably came in on Broad, I imagine. You're up from Columbus, so it's like that right oriented where you are. And a pretty large home over there on Broad Street. And that was the governor's mansion from 1920 to 1957. And then the state took this house on and changed, the name was the governor's mansion then, but when Governor Celeste came in the 1980s, he thought it was too pretentious, so he said, let's call it a residence. So governor's residence is what we call it, although sometimes we slip up and say mansion. They live here now. All the governors have lived in this house since 1957. I have to do a little asterisk to that because Governor Rhodes had four-year terms. In the first 8 years, he and his wife and 3 teenage daughters lived in the house. And then he went out of office and Governor Gilligan was in. And then Rhodes was re-elected after Gilligan for another 2 terms, another 8 years. They did not live here during those 8 years. They had a house in Upper Arlington, which is another suburb of Columbus, and decided not to move back in the house. During those years, no one was living here except for caretakers, and it was used for state functions and also rented out to private people. Started in 17. It became in very bad shape during the 60s, almost inhabitable. So when the Celeste became first family and were ready to move back in here, there was some question about whether this house was livable. But the Celeste saw the historical importance of it and decided to move back in and renovate the house. They did 2 other things that were important. Celeste had the house put on the National Register of Historic Places and established a fundraising private foundation to supplement the funds from the state. And that's still around today. It's gone through various name changes, but today it's called Friends of the Governor's Residence and Heritage Garden. And you can join that group. We've got some brochures if you're interested in becoming a member of it.
Now, are you saying that this was not built as a governor's mansion? It was purchased. Somebody
else.
It was
donated.
No. But somebody else lived here.
Yeah. Okay. The history of the house itself is it was built by a man named Malcolm Jeffrey. Moved in 1925 with his wife and 2 very young sons. We don't know Columbus, so we don't know the Jeffrey name, but we have Jeffrey named Columbus. And coal miners were going to work in the mountains. And brothers and Robert. Automobiles, streetcars, and suburbans were able to carry businessmen from Columbus out to the city. And that's when this area became developed into a housing area. You can't tell the difference together. So in 1925 they moved in. Malcolm Jeffrey died in 1930 of being gassed from World War I and he had respiratory problems. I'm sorry. He died, and his widow and 2 young sons lived on for 6 more years. Then she decided to sell the house to her late husband's sister, whose name was Florence Jeffrey Carlisle. So the Jeffrey Carlisle family, which is kind of the same family, were the private owners of the house. And then Mrs. Carlisle lived here and died in 1954. At that point, the state was looking for a new residence, and they offered it to the state with the provision that it be used as a governor's residence. And that's when it became then turned over to the state in 1955. Renovations were done, etc., and then the first governor moved in 57. So that's kind of the history of how it became governor's residence.
You say the other house where they lived was on Broad Street?
No, the other governor's residence? Yes, 1234 Broad Street.
Would that be near here?
No,
I don't know where 1234
Yeah, it's further down toward the town.
I think that was the house that was eventually converted into a nurse's dorm during the 40s.
No, that's the one that's on this street.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Well, see, I don't know where it was located. My sister was there because she was from Toledo, and our student nurse, and they were doing children's, and they had the outbreak of polio.
Yes.
And they used the nurses' dorm for the polio patients, and they had to live in this house that she said was terrible to live in at that time.
Well, it had been given to the city of Bexley. We call it the Jeffrey Mansion, and it is, Linda said, it's right down the street here at 165. And of course, there wasn't any furniture in there or anything like that. Set out some furniture that they could use, but it was used for that, and it was also used for dances during the Second World War. The USO had some dances. We had air cadets living over on Capital University's campus, and so then they used it too, but I'm going to wait for your story.
Yeah, so Scout Columbus Mansion now says Columbus Foundation.
No, by the Columbus Foundation. It's done, yeah, it has buildings.
That's on this street right here. No, Broad Street.
Actually,
That's on Broad
Yeah,
Street.
it was a restaurant.
About a mile
for a
down.
while. I went to dinner. Did you live there? I went to dinner when it was a restaurant.
Oh yes, I should say so. I did too. It was very lovely.
Yeah, but anyway.
Yeah, so Strickland does live here?
No.
Strickland does live here?
Absolutely, yeah.
I thought he'd invite us.
Outside, right.
But
I got
you-
children.
Yeah.
I don't understand all the words, but then I finally cut it off.
Second floor is where the governor lives, and then the third floor are offices and, storage space. And just to give you a size of the house, it's 16,000 square feet. We have 25 rooms, 12 bathrooms, 6 wood-burning fireplaces, which are used during the wintertime, and an elevator. There's an elevator in the house. So that's kind of, and we have 3 acres of property. So that's kind of the
How many
size of the
bathrooms are in the living quarters?
In the living quarters?
Yeah, upstairs, how many bathrooms?
Well, we have
12
two,
altogether.
yeah, there are 2 on the first floor, so the rest of them are
And up there?
Oh, my.
and the third floor.
not on
The third floor.
Wow.
Third
Yeah.
floor.
Oh.
The house was built, as I said, in 1925 when we were getting into a period architecture. You know your architectural history. You come out of the Victorian period, which is kind of over the top, flamboyant. People were ready to tone it down a little bit, I guess. And they would look back into history, for example. It's like the Greek Revival, French Provincial, the colonial style. And this is at the English, the Old English. You can call it Old English, Elizabethan, Jacobean, half-timbered. Any of those names will do. And the characteristics, you see the stonework, the stucco, the ornamental ironwork, and the timbering around the windows. Now, usually when you see a half-timbered house, it'll be dark timbering. It only stands out against the stucco, but this has been painted. So you'll see different examples. We'll show you some of those inside. You'll see many representations of the state seal around the property and in the house. And your first one is right here. As you walk in the front door, we've got the state seal right in front of the steps there. We're going to go right into the foyer, and we'll stop in the foyer to introduce you to the house inside.